अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, रहम टीवी के प्रोग्राम रहमत-ए-मेहमान में आपका होस्ट वकील अंसारी हाजिर है और मेरे साथ हैं जनाब
आपका को होस्ट सैयद फ़हद हुसैन।
जैसा कि हमने आपसे वादा किया था कि हम हर हफ्ते एक मेहमान के साथ आएंगे और हम आपको लोकल पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में बहुत कुछ बताने की कोशिश करें। तो आज हमारी खुशकिस्मती के न्यूयॉर्क स्टेट के जनाब सेनेटर एंथोनी अवेला जूनियर, जिनको हम लोग टोनी अवेला के नाम से जानते हैं, 11th डिस्ट्रिक्ट के ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी इनकी है, ये आज हमारे स्टूडियो में हैं। वेलकम टोनी, thank you to Raham TV.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
We have a long-time relationship, and
Yes.
It's another chance that we are on the studio, and audience wants to hear a lot from you.
I'm happy to be here to talk about it.
Well, that's what people say, that
Yeah.
all politics is local.
Yes,
And Tony is as local as they get.
as you can
So
get.
tell us a little bit journey about your politics, how you came in politics and what it is.
Well, first of all, I'm a lifelong Queens resident. I was
Yes.
born in Astoria,
Okay.
lived in Long Island City, lived in College Point. Now I live in Whitestone with my wife. And I got involved in politics and government because I was a community activist. I started in my own community working on local issues, why
Okay.
things weren't getting done. And at the same time, I was going to college, Hunter College in Manhattan,
Hunter
took,
College.
took political science. And I thought, I didn't want to be one of those people who let other people help the community. So why don't I try and help? So I took political science. I graduated from Hunter College with a BA in political science. And I decided to get involved in my own community. That's how I started as a community activist.
And then you end up in the city council and you work with David Duncan
Well,
and Mayor Ed Koch. I think
That's my first job was actually working for City Councilman Peter Vallone, right before he became
yes.
the Speaker of the City Council.
Right.
I was on that job for 6 months before I got hired by the mayor's office, by Ed Koch.
Yes.
And that was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot. So I was with Ed Koch until he lost to David Dinkins, and then I worked for David Dinkins for a while. But Ed Koch was the last great mayor of the city of New York.
Great mayor.
Great mayor. Because
So what
he really
makes him so great?
he cared about the community. No other mayor since him has gone out into the community and done town hall meetings and listened to people. We as politicians, elected officials, we always have an opinion on something.
Yes.
But he would allow you to change his mind. So he would talk to you. And if you came up with good reasons, he would change his mind on a particular subject. And I sort of adapt the same approach for myself in government. But that was a great learning experience because for Ed Koch, I was his Queens rep. So not only born in Queens, worked in Queens, was an activist in Queens, but now I became
Okay.
Ed Koch's Queens representative.
Okay.
And from that, I learned a lot, got involved with a lot of community issues and community groups. And then after I left the mayor's office, I went to work for a state senator. And from there, I ran for city council myself. I actually lost the first time, but I kept at it. And in 2001, I was elected to the city council.
City council.
And then in between, you were tried to be a mayor of city of New York.
Right. Well, at the end, the people of the city of New York voted for term limits. So it was 8 years and out. So I was elected for the 8 years. And in 2009, Mayor Bloomberg overturned term limits so he could keep
Yes.
himself in office. And I thought that was wrong. I actually voted against that. And I thought, we made a covenant with the people of the city of New York that we would do 2 terms and out. So I decided, even though some of the people in my district wanted me to run for a 3rd term, I decided no, I wasn't going to do that. But I ran for mayor instead. I ran in the Democratic primary, got 21% of the vote citywide, with no money, no endorsements, just running myself.
Wow.
And you are a die-hard Democrat.
Yes.
Tell me, and then a liberal Democrat.
Well, I'm a moderate. I would say I'm a moderate. The Democratic Party is a big tent. You have conservative Democrats, you have moderates, you have liberal Democrats. I'm a moderate. There are some good parts of liberal, there are some good parts of the conservative Democrat. But I'm a moderate. I think that's where I think most people are in terms of they're moderates. So then, after I lost that election, I decided to run for the state Senate. And I ran against a Republican incumbent who had been in office for 38 years.
Absolutely.
And I beat him quite easily. It was
that-
very interesting.
And
In
that was a
2010.
big upset in
It was a big
2009.
upset.
Yeah.
I was the only Democrat in the entire state that year to beat an incumbent Republican.
Well,
Wow.
in Albany always have been
Yes.
Republicans.
Yes, it's for a long time.
It has
Yeah.
been changed now,
Yeah.
but
It
so
may
it was
change with
very
this
odd
November
that
election.
I'm sure that you work locally so much in your area and particularly district, which is really a unique district, have a unique problem, and from there,
And obviously won in the state senate, and I've been elected 4 times. Since then, I'm now finishing my eighth term, and
Wow.
running for re-election for another term.
what do
So-
you think? What you doing? What other people are not doing?
I try and be very proactive on an issue. I reach out to people. I go to events. Last year, for example, I did a mailing to my entire district saying doctors don't do house calls anymore, but I do.
Wow.
And people call me and they say, "Will you come out to my house? I got a problem." I come out. I look. I
Yeah.
listen. Because that's what an elected official should be doing, is listening to your problems. I
Yes.
work for you. I work
Yes.
for the people of not only my district, but of the entire state. And I like helping people. That's why I'm in politics and in
Yes,
government.
that's what
I
people
like
think.
helping people.
That's what that's image people have of you, that you're
Yeah.
very accessible. And
When I was a youngster, a kid, I was watching the national news. I was watching the news at night. How many kids do that?
yeah.
I actually told this story just recently. When I was in the 5th grade, when you're in elementary school, you get awards for best in science,
Yeah.
best in math. I got a couple of those, but in the 5th grade, I got an award for responsibility.
Wow.
Who gets that in the 5th grade?
5th grade.
And I guess that,
Right.
is an indication that even then, I took on responsibility. I didn't realize at the time what that really meant. But I guess that's who I am. I take responsibility. If somebody has to volunteer to take the lead, I'm the one who does that.
So
On behalf of
basically
my constituent.
So basically the buck stops at Mr. Avella's office.
Yes, it does.
It does stop.
Yeah, and I believe nobody who calls my office gets turned away.
Yes,
Now, I'm
that's
on
it.
the state level, but somebody calls me about a city issue, I try and help them. Somebody calls about a federal issue, like immigration, I try and help them.
Yes.
Because if people want my help, that's what I'm here to do.
Mr. Avella, this job as a politician is 24/7, 365. How does it affect your family? How do you feel about that?
It's tough on the family. It really is tough on the family. But my wife understands that she married me knowing full well, who I am and what I believe in, and she supports me. But it does take away time from the family. I mean, I'm out on the weekends sometimes, late evenings. The reward for me and my family is at the end of the day when somebody comes up to me and say, "You helped me."
Yes.
I had somebody come into the office just the other day who I helped get them their citizenship.
Yes.
And the person came in was actually crying
Wow.
that they were so happy that they became a United States citizen. So it's that type of thing that keeps me going,
Yes.
because politics is a crazy, not necessarily a nice business to be in.
Well, and
But I'm in it because of-
particularly your district, which is diversity and unique compared to other districts.
Oh, absolutely. And Queens is the most diverse county in the whole country.
Absolutely.
And so is my
and
Senate
particularly
district.
your district 11 too, which is eastern North
Right.
Queens. Of,
Right,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
So as our audience want to know a little bit more about what is it to be a state senator? What is a state senator, and how does a life of a state senator affects a person?
Well, I'll ask that last question first. Everything you do in your daily life is affected by what we do in the Senate and the Assembly of the State of New York. Because one of the things that we work with the governor, first of all, you have the State Senate, which is 63 members from all over the state. My district is 350,000 people. That's more than a lot of cities in this country.
absolutely.
Yes.
We work with the State Assembly, which is the other body, which has 150 members.
Okay.
And then there's the governor. So there's 3 parts of state legislature. And for anything to get passed, the Senate has to pass it, the assembly has to pass it, and the governor has to approve it.
Sign.
Okay.
So that's in terms of legislation. But the other part of it is, we pass the budget of the state of New York.
Okay.
And that's funding for education, for healthcare, for essential services, for infrastructure, for everything that involves your daily life. Somehow we affect it. So people should understand, and that's why they should get out and vote and get more involved. Because the person you vote for is the person that's going to affect your daily life.
So our daily lives, you know, in Queens, as you know, a common person's daily life is that he has to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs to make his income and pay the taxes and live a decent life. So with what are the reforms you think could be done at a state senator level that can improve a common person's life, that he doesn't have to work, like most of the states and most of the cities in the United States, they don't have to work 2 jobs. 1 job should be enough. Here, the standard of living, just to maintain that, you have to work 2 jobs at least. The taxes are so high and you are always underpaid.
Right.
So what do you think could
Well,
be
part of the problem, even though I'm on the state level, most of the problems you describe are actually in New York City. You go out to Long Island, though, is becoming a little bit like New York City. But you go upstate, you don't have the situation you have here.
Yes.
The problem in New York City, it has become too expensive to live here. So you can make a decent salary, but you're not making any headway because of how expensive it is. If you're a tenant, the rents are too high. If you're a property owner, you own your house, the property taxes are too high.
Yes.
That's what we have to do on the city level, is reduce the taxes and the expenses so it can be more affordable. Now, on the state level, we're trying to get the city to reduce the property tax. The property tax is the only tax that New York City has control over. Every other tax, they have to come to the state legislature. We've been trying to put a cap on property taxes in New York City for years now, but the mayor won't do it. The mayor wants the revenue. He doesn't obviously care about the rest of us. Because every year the property tax goes up. And the same thing applies for tenants, because the property owner raises the rent because the property tax goes up every year. So on the state level, we're trying to get the mayor to lower the property tax. That's the first thing.
Okay.
And we're also trying to make sure that in terms of health care or insurance and deductibles on the federal tax level, we can compensate for what Trump is doing, the president is doing, to hurt New York State. The big states like New York State and California are going to be hurt very hard with these cuts that the federal government is doing. He's eliminating the tax deduction that we can take. You used to be able to take off the property tax, the state and local income taxes, no matter how high they were. Now there's a limit of $10,000. Now some people pay $10,000 in property tax automatically, and your state and income taxes could be that much. So on the state level, we're trying to compensate for what the federal government is doing to us, because we recognize the fact, and this also includes the governor, who I support for re-election, that we have to make it easier for people to live here. So they're not doing 2 and 3 jobs.
So that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of favor to the community here that a lot of people don't understand about. So here we would like to take a short break, and we'll return with some of the more issues, and we will discuss more issues with you. नाज़रीन, यहाँ पर एक लेंगे छोटा सा वक्फा. हमारी बहुत दिलचस्प गुफ्तगू जारी है जनाब सेनेटर टोनी अवेला के साथ, और मैं और मेरे साथ जनाब वकील अंसारी साहब आपके साथ एक छोटी सी ब्रेक लेंगे और बहुत जल्द हाजिर होंगे.